Hello, Erin from Morehouse Farm here with today's knitting tip, which is how to do the Garter-Tab cast on. And this is the cast on we're going to use for the Morehouse shawl and also the lighter weight version, the Chloe shawl by VanessaKnits, both knit in Morehouse Farm Merino. And the Garter-Tab shawl is a way that we cast on so that we have an even edge across the top, which is the middle of the back, and then the shawl grows in this direction down towards the point, as well as out to each side at the same time. And in order to support that construction, the Garter-Tab, which is actually started up here, helps give it a lot of strength because a lot is depending on this. If you were just to knit across the top of the shawl with a bind off row or even a really long cast on row, you would find that it sags tremendously. But this construction really helps give it a little bit of weight. So let me show you how to do it. First, you're going to need to cast on the required number of stitches. Often that's 3, but go with what your pattern says, of course. And then it will tell you to knit several rows, and several is going to depend on the pattern and the author and its construction. So I'm just going to do several here. Here's one, and notice you can do this, either throwing style, picking style, doesn't really matter. All I'm doing is knitting these rows because I'm trying to grow what will look like eventually a little tab, hence the name Garter-Tab. So once we've got several rows done, we'll be turning our work to pick up stitches around all of the sides. And which way that goes is going to depend on how many rows you've got and where you end up with your working yarn as you're ready to go. So let me do one more. That should give me 5 or 6 rows here. Haven't really been paying attention as I've just been enjoying knitting. So if we've come to the end of the prescribed number of rows, what we are going to do next is turn our work. Often it'll say clockwise, which means to your right, the way a clock goes, and it'll tell you to pick up a certain number of stitches along the edge here, and then you will finally pick up the same number of stitches as you had to start with along the extra edge. So you're gonna keep these 3 stitches, you'll add some along the way here, depending on how many it calls for, and then pick up 3 more to even this out. Now, the way you pick up stitches is going to be important for how neat this is. So it's something you might want to practice a few times with some scrap yarn. And the way you do that is you're going to pick up in this loop right there. I find that that's to be the neatest because you're trying to get this bump, right, from the knit to be hidden here in this stitch. Okay, there's one. If I need to do a second one, I'll do it here. And then I need to turn the corner, but at the same time, I might have a third one that it calls to pick up. So I'm gonna sneak that one right into the corner here and be careful if the yarn splits. So there's 3, okay? And now I've got it on 2 needles. That's all right. You're gonna put it all on one to begin with. And I'm just demonstrating this on double pointed so you can see both ends. Now, you'll be knitting on a circular for these shawls. And same idea here, and I could continue just going on the same needle and things will be a little bit squished to begin with, but that's okay. So now you can see the top and the side have stitches. So next we've got to pick up 3 along what was the bottom or our cast on edge. And again, I'm just using a second needle to show you to demonstrate. We'll have one there, and one here. So we're looking for the most solid way to pick up stitches. And that means not just yanking on one strand. See how much of a big hole that leaves? Make sure you're actually in the stitch that you cast on. And of course, you're going in the opposite direction. So you need to make sure that you've taken that into account, right? If the stitches are going this way, it's gonna be hard to get in that stitch. It's gonna actually be the loop coming down in this direction. Okay, and same thing over here. We will pick up one more. Oops, and again, doesn't matter which needles you're using, you're just trying to get these on here. And at the end, right, transfer them all onto one. So you've got this little bowl shape, which is going to be your Garter-Tab cast on. And you will find then that as you're knitting, you're going up one side, which was the short end of that tab, along the long edge, and then along the short edge again. So it's going to grow amazingly, both out and down at the same time. So at the end, you'll have a result that looks like this, starting in a garter tab here. So you'll knit across, pick up stitches here, and then back up for whatever number the pattern tells you. And then that gives you the ability to keep knitting here with some increases. These will grow. You're knitting down for your cables, increasing again over here, and continuing on out for the rest of the shawl. Happy knitting from Morehouse Farm.